Hi everybody, I'm back from holidays, back from my long trip, 3 weeks in Spain, and yeah, out of quarantine. I left quarantine about a week ago, and yeah, it took me time to kind of like catch up, get things back at work, get it working, getting everything up and running, and yeah, I decided to update to shoot a video to give an update or the things that I saw and because I think is important. This is something that I've been discussing and with people, and something that I realize is how much I miss traveling. Not necessarily for the fact of being away, but the fact that how narrow your perspective has become after being confined for so long in a particular place. And I mean, unfortunately, and this is the reality. The only exposure that we have to the outside world these days is the news, which is heavily skewed and influenced and propagandized. And traveling, going away from the airports to the commutings and everything, and certainly the exhibitions and the shows and the city life and so on, kind of like give me a different perspective, uh, a different feel that the world is still alive out there, and I thought it was pretty important to for me to share that in somehow to share it with you guys, like the things that I saw and my takes on it. So yeah, I wanted to show this the short video to pretty much show you the things that I like, my highlights of my trip, and 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 I don't know, and kind of like I summarize my conclusions and yeah, I mean perhaps to offer you a glimpse of the world out there. It was for those who had unfortunately had the opportunity to travel, because I know it's extremely difficult, expensive, tricky, complicated hotels, etc. So quarantine. So yeah, I mean I decided to do that, and then so as you know, as some of you might know, I went to Spain. I was in Spain. I went to Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia, and a week. The last few days I spent it in the Canary Islands, in a place called Pozo Izquierdo, which is that was more like a holiday. It's a place very famous for windsurfing, and all the top dogs of windsurfing in the world were there. So it was quite also equally quite refreshing to see the best of the best, even though there was no competition, but they were just there chilling and training and so on. So it was great to see everybody, and yeah, in Madrid I went to see family. I have relatives there, so it was good to catch up with some relatives. In Barcelona I went to see Adriana Oliver, which is an artist that I'm probably, and actually I'm very super happy because she has a work now at a wall gallery with Kevin, and it was absolutely beautiful to see that work upon my return. And I mean, catching up with her was great. She has great things upcoming. It was just great. It was great to see my old friend, and yeah, and the exhibition, Madrid or the whole of Spain was, I mean, the museums were open, and the quality of the shows were fantastic. Same as in Valencia. And Barcelona I didn't stay for too long because primarily was to see Adriana, but Madrid and Valencia, fantastic exhibitions that I saw. And so I would like to summarize this trip, this talk, in two aspects. Like I will give a quick overview of the exhibitions that I saw, both in Madrid and in Valencia, and later I go into find what it was like my highlight of my trip. So yeah, the exhibitions, there was the ones that caught my eye were the Georgia O'Keeffe and the Thyssen in Madrid. It was fantastic. It was quite like a nice retrospective. You see her all the transition from postmodernism and a little bit of constructivism, noir, uh, and then eventually getting into surrealism, and ending with minimalism and abstract expressionism, and you can see the whole flow, and it's quite chronologically organized, so you can see how she kind of like rode those waves of those tendencies that were evolving globally since the beginning of the century until the 50s, 60s. So it was in 70s. So it was quite very well curated. And again, fantastic pieces. And another, so that was in Madrid, and that was kind of like the only one then, because El Prado, I didn't go to El Prado. I went back to I went to Reina Sofia on my last day. That was beautiful. It was relatively empty, and only went to see the Guernica, and they had an exhibition on surrealism. Yeah, they have several exhibitions, as people familiar with the Reina Sofia. But what I found interesting is because they have on the surrealism wing, they had works that are also shown, or not the same works, but like the same consistency of works that are equally shown at the Hong Kong Museum of Art. And I think I shared some of the photos that I took with people. For example, the Magritte, the nude, the one that's called the Rape. That is, the work is here at the Hong Kong Museum of Art. Then at Reina Sofia, they had the pamphlet written by André Breton, which is the pamphlet of the Manifesto for Surrealism, and the cover is that particular work. So he over there you see the pamphlet. Here you actually see the work. So I found that quite interesting. Then and then Valencia, the exhibitions in Valencia, I decided, part of my trip was I planned to go to Paris, but because of the situation changing and the certificates, at the time Paris was introducing like measures that you had to be vaccinating and should approve a vaccine to go into restaurants. And even though the Hong Kong vaccine is accepted at the airport, but I didn't know how it was going to be accepted at the little shops. So, and I don't speak French, so I decided like, sounds mafan. So I decided not to go. I canceled. Of course, I apologized to all my friends that were going and the meeting that I had lined up, and but it was for the better. And then eventually I took the time to extend my trip in Valencia, which was absolutely, it was the highlight of my trip. I never expected to Valencia to be so rich culturally. So what, in terms of exhibitions, I think the ones, first of all, Valencia, I don't know if, no, I think it's more COVID, because I asked the restaurants and so on, and it was really empty. Same as Madrid. Barcelona was a bit busier, and certainly not the crowds that you see before. You can tell that COVID has taken a toll in the city. A lot of shops are closed down, and in Valencia, same. The museums were absolutely empty. So I went, and so which was probably, the guys that you follow me on Instagram, you saw my feeds, and I was constantly posting those photos that indeed there's no people here. That is, all these exhibitions are for myself. So in that sense, was great, but it was also very sad to see the toll that COVID, that the pandemic has taken in cities like that are so rich culturally. So the exhibitions that I saw that caught my eye that were really good was Mona Hatoum at the Museum of Modern Art in Valencia. Beautiful museum, fantastic. They also had the same museum. They had another one by Josep Renau, which is a Valencian artist, famous for his futurism and propaganda work, especially for the Communist Party back in the 40s, 50s. Beautiful. Some works, some of the murals, it was absolutely beautiful. And again, they had all the transition. And what I like about that museum is that they curated, so they had those two men, the Mona Hatoum, which was kind of like a satellite. Mona Hatoum was very separate, had no relation to the rest of the museums, but to the rest of the exhibitions. But the exhibition by Josep Renau was they had like about three more exhibitions supporting that main exhibition. And it started from modernism. So it started from the rise of the machines in the 1900s, right? And the upcoming of urbanism and people moving into the cities and the fast paced and so on. So there were works from the 1910s and so on. There was about machinery and so on, and you can see how that translated into suprematism and yeah, suprematism and hard edge constructivism and so on. And you can see that exploration to the questioning of that modernism into postmodernism. I start coming up all these interesting explorations back then, eventually leading into surrealism and leading into and taking those concepts of surrealism plus constructivism, futurism, Bauhaus, and so on, taking into World War into pretty much World War One. I mean, propaganda and pretty much the Franco era, which is a relevant topic until today in Spanish history. So it was very interesting to see the whole transition, and they had the whole program about the Josep Renau. They had Josep Renau. They had all the work, so it was very chronologically organized, and it was absolutely beautiful. That was a beautiful show. They had from collages, from murals, paintings, posters, propaganda, everything. It was beautiful. I liked the fact that there was one of the supporting exhibitions for this one for the Josep Renau was an exhibition, but I cannot remember the museum. It was a museum in the United States. They lent I don't know, about like 100 copies of the Life magazine back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. So you can see the fight of propaganda, like the World War II is going crazy in United in 50s and 60s. It's quite, I mean, they have about 40 years of magazine covers. And you can see how consumerism is taking over in the United States. So how they propagandize consumerism and individualism and so on. And so it was an interesting perspective that I found. And this is the important of why we have to travel, because unfortunately we don't see, Asia, I haven't seen an exhibition in Asia that is curated in that particular context, that is exploring concept like propaganda, consumerism, and the clash of cultures. You can put it that way. Back then was communism versus far right, and how that translating into consumerism and Cold War and so on. So it was very extensive. It was fantastic exhibition, beautiful exhibition, beautifully curated. And the last one of the satellite works, it ended with the rise of technology and AI, and they had works exploring those figurations, which I found quite interesting. So works about a lot of digital works, a lot of works with cyber elements, which kind of like ends the overall exhibition at the museum with that question, like what's next? I mean, modernism took us here, so artificial intelligence is going to take us where exactly? So that was quite interesting. I did like it. And the other highlight of the trip was street art. I never street art in Valencia is another level. It's another level. So when I was walking throughout the museums and so on, I was wandering the streets, and you start getting dragged in by these beautiful murals and these beautiful expressions in the street art, from paper, like, I don't know, plaster paper, to murals, to everything. And also originally I went to Valencia to see the exhibition by Julian Opie, which I saw. It's beautiful, fantastic. It wasn't really big. It had about 8-9 works and a few works outside, but it goes so well with the vibe of the city. And I liked it because of the foundation that was organizing the exhibition had the main building is actually under renovation. So they asked Julian, or I don't know, I'm sure they asked Julian for permission, but on the cover for the renovation, that canopy that they put to for the debris not to fly off, they actually printed some of the figurines, the Julian Opie figurines. So it went all that composition went so well with the vibe, the street life vibe of Valencia. That was fantastic. So you start getting lost in this in the city, and I don't know. It feels like curated. It feels like so well done. That it was just surreal. So one day I decided to go to the internet and say these guys, I'm sure that because this is really good works, and like this guy might be represented by someone. So I went and started Googling around, and eventually contacted a gallery that works with some of the artists. So I dropped there and I had a meeting with the gallerist, and we started talking about the artist, and eventually I met the artist, and it was just mind blowing, so eye opening. That tour, absolutely unexpected. I was not expecting to see anything of that sort, but it was really my eye opening, and I came back to talk to some people about it, and I would love to. I mean, I told them that certainly I'm going to talk about this in Hong Kong, and the quality of the works and the artist, and also it's quite well famous, quite well documented. So there are extensive catalogs about the artist, street artists in Valencia. So I took some a catalog, and I have been discussing with people because I do believe that it would be fantastic to do that exchange of cultural exchange to bring some of the artists here, and perhaps, I don't know, some of the Hong Kong street artists to go there. I don't know, experiment, because the city does celebrate street art. The museums do exhibitions. One of the artists, they have a Vinz. They has a work at the mayor's office, one of the local government buildings. He had this mural. He did this full mural inside the government building. So the government does encourage like good quality street art. So that was very eye opening. So, and then meeting with the gallerist and meeting with the artist and so on, we decided to see if we can find a way to work and do something in Hong Kong. So I have been talking to different people here, expressing that idea, and let's see if this idea materializes. But that was by far the highlight of my trip. Throughout this video, I'm probably you have been seeing the photos. So I've been adding them through. But that was certainly the highlight, and it was absolutely beautiful to see how lively that city is with that level of street art is so exquisite. And I personally would love to do something with these artists, or exchanges or residencies or something. And vice versa, like some of the Hong Kong artists, for example, go there and I don't know, do that exchange, because this is actually what we need in these days of COVID. We cannot forget that there's a world out there, and then there's tons of opportunities, and it's very rich, and we should be, even though that is very difficult to travel and so on, we should keep in mind that the world out there, and then the moment things ease, we should venture out and seize those opportunities. So that was my trip. That's my trip in a nutshell. It was very eye opening, and I'm really glad to have found, especially the Valencia street artists, to have found them is something that I didn't expect, and I don't know, it's an idea that I would love to materialize, take it forward, and see if that goes somewhere. So let's see what happens. But yeah, so this is it. This was a short video. It's about 20 minutes now, but there was a lot to take and a lot to talk. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it, and hope to see you soon. I mean, certainly I'm back in Hong Kong full time, so give me a call. We go for a beer, or we go for coffee, and we can talk more about life, art, and everything else. Okay, see you guys. Cheers.